El regreso de Anonymous ha dado mucho de qué hablar, pues ha sido tendencia últimamente en redes sociales y medios de comunicación. Dicho grupo ha sido tendencia en redes sociales y en medios de comunicación. Esto se debe a que han revelado oscuros secretos de políticos y famosos. Entre los oscuros secretos que más han dejado de qué hablar ha sido el tráfico de infantes. Anonymous reveló una lista de políticos y famosos que es encabezada por el presidente Donald Trump, entre los cuales destacan a Naomi Campbell, Mick Jagger, Phil Collins y entre otras estrellas más. Dichos famosos están coludidos con el tráfico de menores, e inclusive hay una filtración de información donde dice Anonymous mismo que la princesa Diana fue asesinada debido a que descubrió que el reino estaba corrupto, debido a que también se dedicaban al tráfico de menores de edad. Te dejaré una recopilación de videos. Quiero que pongas mucha atención a lo que verás, pues uno de los videos muestra una reunión de políticos y pareciera más bien una reunión, una subasta de niños. Quiero que te grabes 3 palabras en especial. Pizza significa niña, hot dog, niño, y salsa significa orgía. Presta mucha atención al video que verás a continuación. Es realmente perturbador. Bienvenidos al mundo sobrenatural de Scarlett. Acompáñanos.
You may own the corporate media, but we still have the internet, and you will be exposed. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget.
Comet pizza and ping pong. It's a wonderful day, the special day in January. It is the day of the birth of our Lord. And we've all come together to celebrate the birth of our Lord. It wasn't Christmas. No, it's today. If you are like me, you love Sasha. Or if you don't, you want perks from her. Things like free pizza, or booze, or chapstick. Do you have chapstick? I've never asked. Have any of you enjoyed this special pizza here tonight called the Hottie? Well, I unfortunately discovered a very unpleasant secret tonight. I wanted to know what the special secret ingredient was, because it tastes like nothing I've ever had before. And I snuck back into the kitchen. Nobody noticed me. Do you know what that secret ingredient is?
En la red también circula otro video en donde supuestamente están violando a unos niños. Los gritos que se escuchan ahí son realmente desgarradores. Como dato curioso, Anonymous asegura que Chester Bennington, de Linkin Park, Chris Cornell de Audioslave y Kurt Cobain de Nirvana habían descubierto dicha red de tráfico de menores. Ahora dime tú, ¿acaso crees que sus suicidios fueron simple coincidencia? Realmente este tema es muy largo y perturbador, pues no solamente han revelado estos oscuros secretos, también han revelado secretos sobre Facebook que la verdad te dejarían con los ojos y la boca abiertos. Esta es la primera parte de una serie de videos filtrados de Anonymous. Yo soy Kaoru Scarlett, muchas gracias por ver el video. Recuerda suscribirte al canal y darle like. Buenas noches.
Your response to this virus has been a day late and a dollar short, every step of the way, beginning with your refusal to admit in the early stages of the outbreak that human-to-human transmission was taking place, when this fact was obvious to scientists and journalists around the world who were following the story and keeping up with the studies as they were being published. At the time, the Chinese government was doing its best to downplay the severity of the outbreak, and the World Health Organization acted as their mouthpiece, reporting whatever Chinese authorities told them to. As a result of this guidance, the entire world did not take the threat seriously, because everyone assumed that the World Health Organization could be trusted. Members of the World Health Organization also took months before finally declaring the coronavirus a global pandemic. During press conferences in recent months, representatives of the organization insisted that they wanted to avoid declaring a pandemic prematurely because they didn't want to scare anyone or create a panic. However, scientific findings have since shown that we were already dealing with a global pandemic by the time that Chinese authorities decided to quarantine Wuhan, because the genetics of the virus has been traced back to at least October or November 2019.
What we see are epidemics in different parts of the world, affecting countries in different ways and requiring a tailored response. The sudden increase in new cases is certainly very concerning. I have spoken consistently about the need for facts, not fear. Using the word pandemic now does not fit the facts, but it may certainly cause fear.
For the past several months you have insisted that this virus was not airborne, despite significant evidence, including multiple scientific studies suggesting that this was the case. Now that the whole world is in lockdown, you have finally admitted that this virus can be transmitted through the air, despite the fact that numerous scientific studies since January have confirmed this to be the case. The general population has been getting a very confusing message, and very bad advice, thanks to these conflicting reports, and the murky definition for airborne, that is being used by health officials. Since this virus is spread through the air, and can remain in the air for up to 3 hours, the use of N95 masks is very important in stopping the spread of the illness. Unfortunately, the United States and other undeveloped countries were caught off guard by the pandemic and are not prepared with enough proper protective equipment for medical health professionals, meaning that there certainly won't be enough to go around for the general population. The World Health Organization is ignoring the science and the common sense, but masks have been proven to drastically reduce the spread of illnesses like the one we are facing. There are many people in the United States who are learning this fact and are becoming upset about the lies that they have been told, and many of them are suggesting that the World Health Organization is helping the US government prevent panic by downplaying the importance of masks and transmission through the air. Let's not forget that the organization's largest donors are the United States government, the Chinese government, and the Gates Foundation. This is perhaps why WHO officials have refused to recognize Taiwan as a separate entity from China, and why the organization has praised the leadership of both the US and China, despite the fact that both governments have been criticized for their lack of transparency and the heavy-handed tactics that have been used to enforce quarantines. Let's face it, the World Health Organization is corrupt, and is more of a public relations firm for its donors than it is a bastion of public health. The organization does not have a good track record with outbreaks either, and rarely does anything of value to actually help. In 2015, the World Health Organization admitted that they did a bad job at handling the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. In the Ebola outbreak, the organization actually made many of the same mistakes, including waiting too long before declaring a global health emergency, a decision which scientists later said, undoubtedly contributed to the unprecedented scale of the outbreak. After the failed response to the Ebola epidemic, the previous Director General was replaced with Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is now the face of the organization. Tedros also has a history of corruption, which includes downplaying the severity of a cholera outbreak in Ethiopia when he was the country's health minister between 2005 and 2012. In addition to misleading the world about the severity of the virus, you have also encouraged the draconian measures that governments have taken to enforce quarantines. As the Chinese government was silencing doctors and locking them in quarantine for speaking out, Tedros and others praised its response, and urged other governments around the world to take similar measures. Citizens of other countries, especially those in the Western world, thought that it could never happen in their neighborhood, but most governments seem to be taking the advice of the World Health Organization and have started to implement military-style lockdowns similar to those seen in Wuhan during the early days of the outbreak. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.